I said to the lady that, is that gluten-free bread? And she's like, no, it's normal bread. I said, well, it's a gluten-free meal. She can't have bread on it. She picks up the bread, frisbees it across the room, and then she takes the meal and replaces the meal.
No, but first she said now it's gluten-free.
Oh, now it's gluten-free. Yeah, that's right. She did too.
Oh
yeah.
my God.
Now it's gluten-free.
Welcome to the Healthy Celiac Show. I'm your host, Belinda Whelan from belindawhelan.com, and here you will learn to live your very best life with celiac disease. So we are going to be talking all about health-related topics because you, my friend, are more than just a woman with celiac disease. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss an episode, and welcome to the show. All right, so on this week's show, I thought it'd be something a little bit different and a bit of fun to have my husband on and just ask him a few questions. So we've been together for how long now? Is it 17?
17 years.
17 years. And of those 17 years, there were 5 years where I didn't have to eat gluten-free. So that was before my diagnosis. So yeah, our first 5 years of our relationship was pretty easy and pretty stress-free. We could, eat wherever we wanted, very carefree. And then, 5 years into our relationship, everything changed. So yeah, I thought it'd be cool to have my husband on the show, and he's in the studio with me today, which, as you probably know, is our walk-in wardrobe. You've heard me mention before, it's my favourite place to record. So thank you for being on the show today, honey.
Not a problem.
So we'll jump into the questions. So the first question is, how did you find the transition when I went gluten-free? So when I was first diagnosed with celiac disease and I had to go gluten-free, how did you personally find that transition?
It's probably more daunting than anything. Once I got my head around it and maybe understood it a little bit, it wasn't that bad, but it was more the first instinct of, oh, no bread. Like me being a male, sandwiches for breakfast, lunch and tea is just the go-to thing. But it was probably more daunting than anything. It wasn't actually, now that I look back on it, it wasn't that bad. But it was just the whole of, I was a big pasta eater, always ate pasta, and it was just more probably getting my head around the whole lot of, it was substitution more than not having something.
Yeah. So did you kind of feel like you would miss out on some of your favourite things as well? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, but now that I look back, I don't think I've missed out on anything. No. I think the worst thing out of the whole experience is probably been you not having dairy.
Oh, okay.
I found you not having dairy worse than not having gluten.
Yeah, right. So just in case you guys didn't know, I got diagnosed with lactose intolerance fairly recently. So, probably a year ago now. So that has been
2 years ago.
Yeah, just under 2 years ago. So that's been really hard on us, that it's been just that extra step. And we've found that, there's a lot of dairy in a lot of the gluten-free products. So, that's been a big transition.
I believe the gluten-free transition is not as bad as what it's first made out.
Yeah.
It's obviously a lot more daunting, but I think the going dairy-free it makes that changing your normal foods.
Yeah.
Let's say call them normal foods.
Yeah.
To gluten-free foods a lot harder.
Yeah.
Without the dairy in it, because things like let's say lasagna, which I love to make.
Yes, and I love your lasagna, and I must admit I completely miss that.
My cheese sauce.
Yeah, just rub it in.
Yeah.
But we do need to get you onto that. I have been saying to Joy needs to try and work out a dairy-free lasagna for me. So that's interesting that you found that, because that has been my what I've said as well. All right, so what advice would you give to others whose partner has been diagnosed with celiac disease? What would you have to say to them?
Probably just be supportive.
Yep.
Learn as much as you can about celiacs, or having to eat gluten-free. It's not as hard as what it's made out to be. It's actually quite simple. I still eat normal bread. Obviously, Belinda eats gluten-free bread, but that hasn't changed for me. Yes, we make a lot of our meals from scratch.
Yeah.
But I don't think any of our meals taste any different, or like there's probably the biggest meal that I can't make is lasagna.
Yeah. But you used to make that before
I used to make,
gluten-free, and it was amazing.
and I could make that gluten-free, which
Yeah.
wasn't a problem, and it tasted just as good whether
Yeah.
it was gluten-free or not. But I have to say, is just be supportive and help as much as you can.
Yeah, definitely. And you do that very well. Absolutely. All right. So this is a big one for me. So I'm very lucky that when we eat out, Jai is my biggest advocate. And if he's with me, he will order for me. And I feel very comfortable with him ordering my meals. So what tips would you give to others when they're, getting their partners to support them and help them order out? What tips would you give in what to say and how to go about it?
This can get really complicated because there's so many little things that can go into a meal that you may not know about.
Yeah.
It's ask once, ask twice, ask 3 times. Don't ask enough. Like, you can't ask enough times. Is it gluten-free? Is your sauce gluten-free? Is your gravy gluten-free? Is your brine that you soak your meat in gluten-free? You need to ask
all those questions and even check when they serve it.
Yeah, so and when the meal comes out and you see it sitting there, and there's been numerous times, like hundreds of times, that I've sat there and I've asked the waiter, is that gluten-free? That there doesn't look like it's gluten-free. And there has been times, and like there's been numerous times that they'll be like, oh, sorry, that's not gluten-free.
Yeah.
And if I didn't ask that question, then Belinda would have eaten it, believing it was gluten-free, and then been in a world of hurt a couple of hours later.
Yeah.
You just need to ask, ask when it comes, ask when you're ordering it, ask when they come out, because it's easy to make mistakes.
Yeah, and people make mistakes a lot. And,
yeah.
It does get, like, as you know, if you eat out, it can get a little bit overwhelming when you're doing it all the time. So it's really nice that when Jai and I go out together, he takes that off my shoulders. That weight is lifted off me because he does it for me, and I'm so grateful for that, because it just gives me a time to be able to go out and enjoy a meal and not have to be worrying about myself. I kind of let him do the worrying for me when we go out, if you put it like that. Whereas when I go out with my friends or my other family, then I have to do it for myself. So it is really nice that I get that, that little burden, I guess, taken away from me.
I think one thing on that, you can't expect your partner to straight away understand your needs. I think that they need to learn with you.
Yes.
And then you have to have that trust in them as well, so that they have a good understanding, because you can come unstuck so easy.
Yeah, definitely. And if I'm being completely honest, in the very early days, I found it really hard to come forward and ask for what I needed. And that's where Jai would step up, and he did that a lot for me, because I would be embarrassed and I would feel uncomfortable, and he's much more assertive and much more forward than I am. So I did find that helped me a lot in the early days, but now I have absolutely no issues with requesting what I need and finding out exactly what I need. So yes.
As well, things are a lot easier found now than they were
back then. Yeah, definitely.
14 years ago.
Yeah, 12 years ago.
12 years ago. Sorry.
Feels like 14.
Feels like forever.
We've been together forever, honey. All right, so what's your favourite gluten-free food that we have? I reckon I know the answer to this, but as far as gluten-free food goes, what would you say would be your absolute favourite thing?
As in a snack, or
anything, whatever.
I'd have to.
He's probably going to say carrots.
No. One thing that I do love that you make is your apple breakfast meal.
Oh, really? The cater?
The cater, yeah. That's probably one of my favourite.
Oh, really? That's so easy. Do you know what's in that? Or what does CADA stand for?
It stands for apple, dates.
Yep.
Coconut.
Yeah.
I don't know what the other one is.
Almonds.
Almonds.
Yeah. So I just chuck all of that into my Thermomix, and it gets all chopped up, and I serve it with yogurt, and it's
Yep.
amazing. It's
Yeah.
such a delicious, easy breakfast. Oh wow, that's really interesting. That's not what I expected
Chicken
you to say.
broccoli pasta.
Ah, that's so what I thought you were gonna say. That
My
was
favourite meal.
That was my guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, chicken broccoli pasta. You've probably seen me make that numerous times on Instagram if you
It's
follow
like-
me on Insta.
It's like a fortnightly
Yeah.
meal.
So Dry works away 1 week on, 1 week off, and he gets a little bit shirty if I don't make it for him when he's home
Yep.
for that week. The rest of us get a bit sick of it, but he loves it. So that's easy. It's a good meal. All right. So I think you mentioned, you kind of answered this question, but aside from the dairy side of thing, what would you say is the hardest thing that you've had to deal with since my diagnosis?
Sharing a toaster.
Sharing a toaster. Oh,
No,
struggle town.
it's not that bad. No, the hardest thing that I've had to deal with. I think the beginning was pretty hard.
Yeah.
Just getting my head around it all, understanding it.
Yeah.
Was probably the hardest. But like really, once you get your head around it and you understand it, it's quite simple.
Yeah.
I think you just need the guideline, like not guidelines, maybe
Guidance.
Yeah. To put you on the right track. We read, and for me, if anyone knows me, I don't read, but yes, I did read a lot about gluten-free and celiacs and celiac disease, so I had a better understanding. But it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
Yeah, definitely. And what would you say has been the worst experience with me having celiac disease? Like, is there a particular thing that you can remember?
I was thinking a Melbourne Cup experience that we had
Oh, yes.
at a pub. So I went and ordered a meal for Belinda. At pubs, we don't normally like to eat at pubs very often because they don't really cater very well for upmarket pubs. More do, but not your standard pub. Bar meals and that don't really cater for the
the cross-contamination is terrible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we don't risk it.
So it was a Melbourne Cup year, I don't know, quite a few years ago now, and I went there, I ordered Belinda's meal and I ordered my meal, and the meal came out with bread on it.
Like on it. It was on top of my meal.
On top of the meal. I said to the lady that, is that gluten-free bread? And she's like, no, it's normal bread. I said, well, it's a gluten-free meal. She can't have bread on it. She picks up the bread, frisbees it across the room, and then she takes the meal and replaces the meal.
No, but first she said now it's gluten-free.
Oh, now it's gluten-free. Yeah, that's right. She did too.
Oh,
yeah.
my God.
Now it's gluten-free, and then takes the meal and replaces the meal. But yeah, that would have probably had to be the worst experience I've had.
Same. I agree. I nearly cried that day.
Yeah.
All right, so let's finish on a bit of a lighter note. So what would you say has been the best part of my celiac disease diagnosis?
The best part would have had to have been the diagnosis. Like how you was in the lead up to your diagnosis. I can't remember how long it went on for. Maybe a year?
Nearly a year.
Yeah.
Yep.
How you were just down, had no energy, didn't want to do anything, you just weren't my Belinda.
Yeah.
So after you got diagnosed, obviously things took a little bit of adjustment.
Yeah.
But I really think that has been the best thing that's come out of it, because the adjusting to gluten-free, in all honesty, hasn't been that hard.
No, I agree.
But getting diagnosed and then making the adjustments to eat gluten-free has definitely been the best.
Yeah. Just seeing the improvement in my health back to my normal self.
Yeah, back to your normal self. Your energy, your bubbly self.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Fantastic. Well, thanks heaps for being on the show today, honey.
No worries, darling.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure talking to you, no matter what.
In our wardrobe.
In our wardrobe. This is actually a first for us, so this is quite cosy in here. It's really cold in Adelaide at the moment, and it's actually really cosy in our wardrobe, which is
quite nice and warm.
We should hang out in here a bit more often.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So if you enjoyed this episode, let us know, because we might just have to have Jai back on here again. If you've got any other questions that you'd like me to ask him, just shoot them through to me on Instagram. So just letting you know, I have actually changed my Instagram and Facebook names to The Healthy Celiac, just to keep it really simple. So yeah, feel free to shoot me through a DM and let me know any questions that you have or any ideas for any future shows. So thanks heaps for tuning in, guys, and I look forward to talking with you again next week. Take care. Bye. If you enjoyed this episode, head to belindawhelan.com to get yourself a free copy of my exclusive ebook, 11 Mistakes People Make Going Gluten-Free Living with Celiac Disease.